The legend of Matt Strahm continues to grow in Philadelphia, following two incredible stories against the Los Angeles Dodgers. First off, an at-bat against Shohei Ohtani, and second of all, sticking up for his teammates Nick Castellanos. I want to break down what went down in both altercations, Matt Strahm himself kind of talking himself through things, and why I have full belief in this guy as we head into the postseason stretch, and we start narrowing in on which arms will be the most key moving forward. Now, before I dive fully into it, I do want to make sure you guys are smashing that subscribe button. That at this point in time, 93.5% of you guys watching these videos have not subscribed to Phillies Digest just yet. We want to get that Digest family growing. We got plenty of big plans as we head into this home stretch of baseball, so we want each and every one of you along for the ride. Now, to talk a little bit about Matt Strahm specifically here, I'll start off by taking a look at his stats. We know what he is as a baseball player at this point. In 47 games this season, pitched 44 innings, allowed just 3 home runs, 58 strikeouts, so more than 1 per inning there, and only 28 hits allowed. That 5.7 hits per 9 innings, pretty impressive stuff there. A whip of .818 and an ERA of just 2.25. He's a guy who's established himself as a real deal pitcher, one of the best in Major League Baseball, and is paid accordingly as such. Now, for this Phillies team, I think he elevated his status within the locker room and as a fan favorite, even more so against their crucial series against the Dodgers. This was the final matchup with the Dodgers before the postseason. It does seem like the stars will align for some sort of playoff matchup, as these guys are obviously the two biggest threats in the National League. The Braves kind of looking in, although they've been falling apart lately, so I don't know if I'd throw them in the same conversation at this point in time. But the bottom line is this will be it for the regular season, and there is a little bit of bad blood. Now, I want to start with the story that happened the first night, which was a face-off, a square down between Matt Strahm and Shohei Ohtani. There's another at-bat that really sits in my mind from when the Dodgers were playing in Philadelphia, where Strahm really went after Ohtani and struck him out there. And they got another opportunity to have at it, and Matt Strahm took a bit of a different approach here. So to break down this story here, I want to start off with this report. We have written that in the biggest moment of the Phillies' biggest series in at least a month, Matt Strahm decided to try something new. He was facing National League MVP frontrunner Shohei Ohtani with a 3-run lead, 2 on and 2 outs in the 7th inning. It was the third Strahm-Ohtani matchup since July 10th, and Strahm beat him both times last month with sliders that resulted in a strikeout and ground out. On a 1-1 count to Ohtani, it wasn't the fastball or slider that Strahm turned to. It was a 90-mile-per-hour cutter. The first Strahm has thrown to a left-handed hitter since spring training 2023, when he was trying to deepen his mix of pitches and transition from relieving to starting. Ohtani swung through it before working the account full and flying out in a slider just off the outside corner that was too close to take. And to continue on with the story, it writes that, quote, the last one I threw was last spring trainings to O'Neal Cruz, and he hit it about 470 feet foul, Strahm said. So what made that 7th inning against the most dangerous hitter in baseball the right time to try it again? I trust JT, Strahm said. Relieving Christopher Sanchez, Strahm popped up to Nick Ahmed and struck out Kevin Kiermaier, leading to the Ohtani out bat. The first and only slider thrown to Ohtani was the final pitch of a full count. And for the third time in a month, he won the battle. And just thinking along with JT there, I can just sense that he's looking for my fastball up, Strahm said. That's my bread and butter, and Ohtani's very good at hitting those. I kind of went to my 18 and tried to stick one down and away. I watched Sanchi get him inside all 3 times, and JT used my strengths and my deception. It just sets everything up, and JT's unbelievable at doing his homework. So a couple things that I do think are important to note there. Number one, the trust between JT Realmuto and Matt Strahm there. And this does seem pretty universal among all the pitchers on the team, that JT, while he gets plenty of credit for the way that he hits, the way that he does, defend, and is obviously one of the best runners as a catcher, one of the fastest catchers that I think certainly in modern MLB and really that we have seen, I don't think he gets quite enough credit for just his composure and the way that he controls, the way that he can call a game and has a feel. I definitely noticed that drop-off when we do see the Garrett Stubbs games, and I think that's something that you can tell when catchers don't have it, but you don't always recognize it when they do, and JT certainly does. So very cool to see that kind of trust from Matt Strahm there. And number 2, the guts to just straight up go do it. This is the best hitter in baseball. This is a guy who, at the end of his career, very well could have an argument for being the best baseball player of all time. We'll see, obviously, how things play out if he steps back out on the mound on all those kind of factors that will play in a long time ago for that. But Shohei Ohtani is as talented as a baseball player will come, and Matt Strahm showing no fear whatsoever. And that's really what stands out to me, Matt Strahm. There is this fiery competitiveness that really stands out, that I think is electric. I think it's like infectious to teammates, and he'll do anything that a team asks. Let's not forget that this is the same guy who currently is probably, outside of Jeff Hoffman, their best high leverage pitcher from the bullpen. There was a point in time where they needed another starter, and he said, no problem, I'll do it. Let me give it a shot. And he wasn't bad at it, by the way, for that. Now, the second story that I do want to get to here, I think even speaks to more of Strahm's status within the locker room and how much the team means to him. So to pull it up directly here, let's pull this factor. So this happening in last night's game where Nick Castellanos taking a fastball basically off the chest, the way it went down and in on him, or up and in on him, and kind of caught him there. And he clearly took exception. That Nick Castellanos let it be known to the pitcher, saying that that's a big miss, dog, and a couple other F-bombs laced in there. So Matt Strahm steps in. So first off, Michael Grobe hits Nick Castellanos with a 97 mile per hour pitch. Once again, it was basically at the chest level that it hit him kind of high and tight there. And then the next inning, Matt Strahm hit Gavin Lux with a 94 mile per hour pitch. Both players exchanged words with the pitchers, but nothing escalated. The Dodgers and Phillies don't meet again in the regular season, but a potential postseason series could get very interesting. And I did think that they were going to absolutely hit Kyle Schwarber, who was leading off the next inning at this point. They did not choose to do so, and Kyle Schwarber took him yard for the third time of the night. So really cool how that is the case, but to me, this was old school baseball. That was cool to see Matt Strahm sticking up for his teammate there. I think it was clear that Nick Castellanos took exception to the pitch that came his way. I don't know if it was intentional. It certainly was high and tight, and we definitely could tell how Castellanos felt about it. I'm a little bit more confident that Matt Strahm's absolutely was intentional, and I love that he did it. And also shout out to the umpires for the way that they handled things, just kind of walking the runners down, that there was not this big deal. This could have turned into something or overreacted to a point where it did not need to be, and I'm glad that was not the case. To me, this was fair game. This was baseball. This was sending a message, and this is something that endears yourself to your teammates. And he went out and knocked down the next batter, got him out, and moved on. So Matt Strahm growing as a legend in my mind. And it is not just this fiery competitiveness, this ability to clearly ingratiate himself with his teammates and be a guy that is respected. He's got all the talent in the world. And once again, to acknowledge the stats one more time, you can see it right in front of you for how good this guy is. And to dive in specifically, let's take a look at the bullpen as a whole. That this is going to be a guy who is going to be pitching in some high leverage moments. So we do know that there is Carlos Estevez, who might be that closer role, although too soon to tell completely. Jeff Hoffman, who had an uncharacteristic blow up fairly recently, but ultimately has been as good as a reliever as comes in Major League Baseball. Matt Strahm right there in that same mix, and we do have him as a lefty, which is something that is important there. Jose Alvarado, they got to find a way to get him back to throwing his best stuff there. Ryan Kirkring, I'm also not 100% sold on him being back or him being ready when the full playoff push comes. He's absolutely going to be utilized, but I just question the high leverage situations a little bit, but I hope I'm proven wrong on that. Tanner Banks, I do think, is a great addition, the guy who has looked pretty solid so far. We'll see when there's a larger sample size to break down. We're also be getting Spencer Turnbull back fairly in the short term, so make sure to pay attention to that as well. And just to acknowledge the Shohei Ohtani battle a little bit, that when you look at these Phillies as a whole, the Phillies pitching held Shohei Ohtani to just 2 hits in 12 at-bats this series. They're stepping up when the moments matter most, and believe me, you can feel the presence every time that Ohtani steps into the box. So one of the more demonstrative players, and when he gets a hold of one, you can clearly tell. So shout out to Matt Strahm for winning that battle there, and shout out to him for stepping up for Casty. That I do think this was something that this team needed. We've talked a lot about how down the vibes are, and I'm not saying they're entirely back, but this was a kind of a winning 2 out of 3 against the Dodgers in this type of environment with how the vibes were, I think is really important for this team. So now they're heading out to Arizona against one of the hottest teams in the major leagues. We will see what happens against the Diamondbacks, but ultimately, I think Matt Strahm moved up a couple pegs in my mind, and he can pitch for my baseball team anytime. Give that man a lifetime contract, lock him up on the Phillies, and let's go win a World Series. Now, before we get to all that, I just want to remind you guys one more time to make sure you're smashing that subscribe button. We're trying to push to 1,000 here, right here on Phillies Digest. We got plenty still to go and want each and every one of you along for the ride. So smash that button, drop a like on this video, any comments you have below, and I'll be talking with you next time right here on Phillies Digest. Peace.